Hi everybody, I'm Mike McCrory and this is Would You Make It? In this video I'm going to make a chessboard made from Bolivian rosewood and bird's eye maple. It's going to have 2.5-inch squares and a 3-inch frame, so the overall size is 26 inches by 26 inches and it's going to be 1.25 inches thick. This board is going to have a tabletop epoxy finish, and the reason for that is because it's going to Thailand and they like to play outdoors, so it needs to be able to endure the hot, humid weather, and also it needs to be able to hold up physically because apparently they like to slam their pieces down on the board when they're playing. So let's get started. I'll start by cutting the bird's eye maple so that I have enough material to make all of the light squares. And then I'll run it along my jointer to have a straight edge. And using my bandsaw, I'll cut the pieces to be just a little bit more than 2.5 inches wide. And now with the Bolivian rosewood, I'm resawing it so that it's about 3/8 of an inch thick. And then I'll do the same with the bird's eye maple. Next, I'll run everything through the drum sander to clean up the other side and to get everything to be the same thickness. And now I will rough cut the Bolivian rosewood to be the approximate length that I need, and then I'll run it through the jointer as well. Now I'll trim everything down to the exact 2.5-inch width. And now it's ready for the first glue up. I put some parchment paper on top, and that way I can put a sheet of plywood on top and then clamp it down so that everything remains flat. And now I'll do the same thing for the other side. Now that the glue has dried, I will run both pieces through the drum sander. Then I'll square up one end using my crosscut sled. And then I'll run all the pieces along the fence to get 2.5-inch squares. And now it's ready for the next glue up. And in this case, I need to do one side at a time. After it's glued up, I will sand both sides. And then I want to clean up the edges by trimming off the smallest amount possible. And this is important so that the squares on the top and the bottom align with each other. And now I'm cutting some 6/4 walnut to be just a little bit more than 3 inches wide. And this will be used for the frame. And now I'll cut them to length, and I will mark each end so that I can keep them sequenced for proper grain orientation. Next, I'm cutting a groove so that this will fit over the plywood. And then I'll cut them to width, and then cut a groove for the brass border that's going to go around the playing area. I sand all the sides of the brass so that they adhere better, and then I use the Star Bond CA glue to attach them. This turns it into a pretty quick process. After the brass is adhered, I run it through the table saw to take off the tiniest amount just to have a clean edge. Next, I'm running a groove in the outside edge of the frame, and this will be used for the curly maple edge banding. And I'll use the drum sander to get the edge banding down to the exact thickness that I need to fit into the groove. I'll cut the pieces to length and glue them in. After the glue is dried, I'll trim off the excess edge banding. And now I'll miter the corners. And I would take the pieces back and forth to the chessboard and fit them, and then sneak up on the fit. Next, I'm going to use the CNC router to carve the inlay that's going to go into the frame. And what I'm going to inlay are the US Air Force logo, as well as the family name. And the client also wanted me to engrave the date that I made this, and I thought he would just want the month and the year, but he wanted the exact day that I was carving this. And he also wanted my logo. And I'm going to fill these engravings with epoxy, black epoxy. And I'm using the heat gun to release any bubbles. After the glue dried, I'm able to cut off the excess material using the bandsaw, and then I'll run it through the drum sander to clean it up. Next, in the ends of the frames, I'm cutting the mortises, and these will hold the floating tenons. Now I'll glue everything together and clamp it. And it's important to clamp the corners vertically to make sure that everything is lined up, and this helps to minimize the amount of sanding that's needed afterwards. I did sand the board, and now I'm applying a coat of shellac just to seal the wood grain before I apply the epoxy. And I'm using this Total Boat tabletop epoxy. I mixed it for a couple of minutes. Now when you're using this tabletop finish, it needs to be a minimum of 80 degrees when you're applying the epoxy. And now I understand why, because it was only about 75 degrees this day, and you can see that the epoxy is too thick to apply. But this is only the first coat, and it's really just to seal the wood further, so I'm not too concerned about having a smooth or a perfect finish. It's going to be far from perfect. Again, I'm using the heat gun to release any air bubbles. The next day I sanded it, and I applied the second coat. I brushed off all the dust, and then I wiped it down with denatured alcohol. And you can see today it's a lot warmer, so this day it was about 85 degrees. I was fortunate to have some consecutive warm days. I actually made the board in the winter, but I had to wait until the weather warmed up so that I could apply the epoxy. And I needed to get this finished because the son who ordered the board was traveling to Thailand to take the board to his father. And so I only had a limited amount of time to get this finished. For my final coat, I took the board into my dining room because I didn't want to have any insects landing on this. Before putting on the epoxy, I wanted to make sure that I vacuumed the surface and have it as dust-free as possible. And that's all there was to it. So I gotta ask, would you make it?